Go into a room of entrepreneurs or professionals and ask them if they constantly feel busy. Every hand in the room goes up. Then ask them if they feel like that busyness is hurting their productivity. Every hand in the room goes up as well. It's pretty interesting that we feel so busy that we are unable to be productive. And in today's episode of We Do the Work, we're going to unpack exactly why. We Do the Work is dedicated to those who believe in the tenacious pursuit of their dreams. In a world where we aim to turn ceilings into floors, we dive deep into the essence of health, wealth, and relationships, uncovering that true fulfillment lies not in our achievements, but in the journey of us doing the work. There are tons of studies on productivity. Most of them show that, number one, people resist being idle. Have you ever been stuck in traffic and you see that you'll be stuck in traffic for 20 minutes, so you decide to take an alternate route that is actually longer than just staying in the bumper-to-bumper traffic? I know I've done it. A lot of people do it as well. And the reason is we don't want to be idle. We do this with our work as well. We also have a bias towards taking action. If we're not sure what to do, if there's a challenge in front of us that is really, really tough, we want to do something, even if it's not helpful. Sometimes doing nothing is actually the best answer. Now, I'm not a huge fan of regular sports. I'm a huge fan of MMA and BJJ. But for those of you soccer fans out there, I think you'll really love this example. There are stats on pro soccer goalies that basically show that the ones that choose to jump towards the left or jump towards the right when the ball comes in actually have less of a chance of stopping the ball. What research shows is that the goalies that stay centered have a higher chance of stopping the ball from going into the net. This really showcases how we often have this bias towards taking action, and it's usually an emotional reaction, a sense that we have to be doing something. But sometimes just hanging back and waiting for something to come at us is the better choice. My mission today over this video is to share with you my top 3 productivity principles and top 5 productivity strategies so you can make sure that you are doing the right work so you can get more done in less time. Super productive people are in every industry. There was a study done by the Harvard Business Review that showed super productive software developers code 9 times more than the average developer. The best fish butchers prepare 3 more fish. The best sales associates at Nordstrom sell 8 times more clothing. They collected data on over 7,000 people to see what the levels of productivity were, and they looked at 48 specific behaviors. They found 7 of them that overlapped with the top 1% most productive people. But I want to talk about the top 2 skills that they had. The first skill is that they showed consistency. They showed up 100% of the time, and they were reliable 100% of the time. They constantly delivered results week after week, month after month. And they all had a cadence and a rhythm to their work. The second skill, and this is so important as entrepreneurs and professionals, is that they had knowledge and technical expertise. If you lack the knowledge that you need in order to get a project done, you're going to spend so much time researching that project. If you don't have the technical button pushing expertise to get the project over the line, it's going to kill your productivity. So the top producers always made sure that they were spending time learning and building new skills. I call this being a skill collector. You have to make sure you are intentionally acquiring these new skills, especially with how quickly tech and AI advanced in today's world. So before we dive into the productivity principles, let's talk about the definition of productivity. The definition of productivity is the ratio of output to input in a specific period of time. You can do a lot of work with a lot of time. But if you have kids, you know that you want to try and figure out, how can I do a lot of work in a little bit of time? That is ultimately what we call leverage. So let's unpack 3 productivity principles that you need to keep top of mind. Number 1, you can't grow your business or your career faster than you grow yourself. I'm a huge fan of Jim Rohn, one of my first mentors, and he always teaches people to work harder on yourself than you do your job. You have to be growing. You have to be learning. You have to be evolving. If you're not, you're stagnant or you're dying. And when you do this, when you focus on leveling up and your personal development, if you are a business owner or if you're an employee, you become more valuable to the company, and you are paid based on the value that you bring to the company. Owners, that means a lot of your focus and time has to be spent on leveling up your leadership skills. Team members, that means your time needs to be focused on leveling up your management skills, including time management and your technical expertise. The second productivity principle is productivity comes with proper habits and proper routines. One of my mentors always says, show me your bank account and show me your calendar, and I will show you your priorities. One of the questions that you should ask yourself is, are my day-to-day habits aligned with the person that I am trying to become? We have to implement positive habits in our day-to-day if we want to be as productive as possible. And you want to try to make those habits as easy as possible. Anytime somebody is starting a new gym routine, the ideal scenario is making sure that that gym is on the route to either where they're going to work or where they're coming home. If it is 45 minutes away, it's not convenient. And if it's not convenient, it can be very difficult to implement that as a habit. In terms of the work world, look at your workstation, the laptop you're working on. Are you doing one screen or do you have multiple screens? Are you using the latest technology so you can be as efficient as possible? We want to make implementing these habits easy. So productivity comes with a proper routine, and we're going to be talking about rhythms when we get to strategies, but it also comes to having proper habits. The third principle is that the best productivity strategy is to delegate, renegotiate, or eliminate. Most people are just doing the completely wrong work. It's oftentimes the thing that we say no to that can bring us to the next level in our lives. For me, I say no to staying up late. I say no to partying. I say no to alcohol. I say no to taking meetings outside of my specific meeting time block. And for many people, it's time that you renegotiate the things that you have said yes to, but are no longer serving you. In terms of delegation, I heard this quote once that said, if you aren't delegating to the point that you feel uncomfortable, you are not delegating enough. You have to make sure that the things that you are working on are the things that only you can do and are in your zone of genius. And finally, there is eliminate. There are things on your to-do list right now that shouldn't be there, that have no impact on your goals. You got to get rid of them. So those are our 3 productivity principles. Number 1, you can't grow your business or career faster than you grow yourself. Number 2, Productivity comes with proper routines and proper habits. And number 3, the best productivity strategy is to delegate, renegotiate, or eliminate. Let's go ahead and dive in to my top 5 productivity strategies. Productivity strategy number 1, I learned this from one of my coaches, Dan Martell. It's actually a requirement to be in his coaching group, and it's called the 5 daily non-negotiables. We talked earlier about productivity principles and the importance of you growing yourself. This is where the 5 daily non-negotiables come into place. And when you implement that, what you start to do is build momentum. You create this vortex of productive activities. So what are the 5 daily non-negotiables? Number 1, review your 12-month goals. Most people set goals at the beginning of the year and they never look at them again. You need to be reviewing your goals on a daily basis. Non-negotiable number 2, you gotta break a sweat. One of the biggest mindset unlocks for me as an entrepreneur is that I work out for the mental clarity, and the physical gains are just the cherry on top. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And success isn't just about the amount of dollars that you have in the bank account. We know that health is wealth. You've got to break a sweat daily. You're going to be able to show up for yourself, for your family, for your team much better. So a minimum of 45 minutes every day. Non-negotiable number 3, read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. It's so important that we are feeding our mind with positive inputs. Scrolling on social media sometimes can actually have a negative effect based off of who you are following. In order to learn, in order to grow, we have to have those positive inputs. So reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book is going to help you with that. Number 4, you gotta post on social media. Whether you love it, whether you hate it, it is a medium for you to not only grow your business, but also grow your personal brand. We aim to post a minimum of 3 success stories every day. And those success stories are things that are a part of your day-to-day routine that help you feel and become successful. Whether that's taking a picture at the gym, whether that's taking a picture of the book that you are reading, whether it's filming a quick video when you're getting your steps in on your clarity break. We want to share that with others on our social media. When you put that out into the world, it's going to attract other like-minded individuals. And then non-negotiable number 5 are reach outs and opens. A minimum of 5 reach outs. That could be on social media, it could be on email, but starting conversations or checking in with the people in our lives. We want to make sure we aim for 5 of those. So productivity strategy number 1, we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to implement these 5 daily non-negotiables, and we're going to create a vortex of motion in your life, which will help you become more productive. Productivity strategy number 2 is you have to know where your time and energy is going, and we suggest doing this with a time and energy audit. How do you know if you are truly working on the right things? One of the most humbling experiments you can do is time track your day in 15-minute increments over the course of 2 weeks. After about the first few hours, you're going to have a light bulb go off that you are more than likely working on things that should be delegated, that should be eliminated, that aren't in your zone of genius. The other aspect of this that's really important for productivity is managing your energy. You need to figure out, when are you at your peak? If you are a night owl, that's going to be different than somebody that's in the 5 a.m. club. So we want to monitor what times during the day are we at the highest amount of energy, because we want to make sure that we are time blocking our most important activities during that time. For me, I don't take meetings until the afternoon. So I love using the morning, because that's what I consider my magic hours, to move big rocks forward. And we have to prioritize those high impact activities. For many of you, it's revenue generating activities, depending on the size of your business. And again, if you show me your calendar, I'll be able to show you your priorities. We have to be auditing where are our energy levels throughout the day so we can make sure that we're doing the right work at the right time. Productivity strategy number 3 is all about doing the right work. And I've got 4 tools for you to help you decide what that is. Number 1, most people have a very, very, very long to-do list. And the issue with that is that it doesn't help you categorize, organize, or prioritize what you should be doing. What am I supposed to be working on? Well, this should ultimately be derived from your job description. In my companies, our job descriptions are broken down for roles and responsibilities on an annual, quarterly, monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, and daily basis. And I know if these are my responsibilities over the next days or weeks or months, I can take those roles and responsibilities and plug them into my time block. The second tool you're going to want to use is the Eisenhower matrix. This lets you know what to prioritize. If something on your list is urgent and important, you got to do it right now. If it's urgent but not important, that's a sign for you to delegate it to somebody else. If it's important but not urgent, schedule a time to do it. If it's not important and not urgent, get rid of it, eliminate it. Tool number 3, this is one of my favorites. It's called bookending your days. I believe that you should have personal morning and evening rituals as well as business morning and evening rituals. And when you do that, it allows you to have a start and a stop to your day. There is a specific morning business ritual that I do every time I sit at my desk, and I do this 7 days a week. I also have an end of day ritual that before I close my laptop, these are the things that I'm going to make sure get done. And what that really allows me to do is have the ability to shut off work. What none of us want is to ever be in that gray area where when we're at work, we're thinking about our home and our family. And when we're at home with our family, we're thinking about work. Bookending your days like this allow you to switch mindsets. Tool number 4 is the weekly review. There was a study done at an outsourcing company called Wipro, and what they were trying to figure out was, how does thinking about your day affect your day-to-day performance? So they put all of the team members at the company in 2 groups. Group number 1, all they said is the last 15 minutes of your day, we want you to write and reflect on the lessons that you learned from the day. The second group didn't receive any of that additional training. And the result was group number 1, the ones that took 15 minutes at the end of the day, increased their performance by 22%. And remember, group 2 didn't have to do that. So they actually got an additional 15 minutes of work time. What that tells us is when we take the time to reflect, it makes us more aware of our day-to-day so we can make better decisions. Some of the questions I like to ask myself are, what went really well, what went wrong, and what would I do differently next time? Let's move on to productivity strategy number 4, the 3 planning lists. Look, a lot of people use a to-do list. And the issue with the to-do list is that it never feels done. You're constantly adding to that to-do list. And there was a study done in London on 354 CEOs, and they recorded all of the actions and activities that these CEOs engaged in the course of a week. And they found that there were typically two types of CEOs. CEO number one were the advanced planners. They only interacted with their direct reports, and they made sure to be involved in group and departmental meetings that made sense for them to be involved in. Group number two were the non-planning CEOs, and they met with a lot of outsiders and in a lot of one-on-one meetings. What they found in this study is that the most successful CEOs were the planners. It was linked to higher productivity and, most importantly, higher profitability. I love making lists so much that I actually make 3 lists, and this is my 3-list planning system. I have an open list. The open list is where all of the ongoing ideas go to. As a visionary or a very ambitious person, you probably have ideas popping in your head all of the time. Some of them are shiny object. Some of them will actually derail you and your company and your team for achieving the goal that you set out for that quarter or that year. Anytime I have these ideas, I put them on the open list. Then I have a closed list. This closed list can only have 10 items on that list. And I move items from the open list to the closed list. And then finally, I have my power list. This is my day-to-day list, and there's only 5 items allowed on the power list. And because I have these different lists, I'm able to move open items to closed items to power items. And if you're not sure if something should be on that power list, use the Eisenhower matrix that we spoke about earlier. Last up, productivity strategy number 5, delegation with playbooks. We really don't want to spend time repeating ourselves doing the same thing over and over again in our business, because eventually those are things we're going to want to delegate. But in order to delegate properly, we need to be able to provide the person that we're giving the work to a playbook. I believe the best playbook, also known as an SOP, has 4 items in it. It has a context table at the top. It has a camcorder method, which has a video recording of you doing whatever the playbook is on. It has a course outline description, which has every little detail, bullet point, sub-bullet point, sub-bullet points that somebody could read through this and be able to accomplish what that playbook sets out to accomplish. And then finally, at the bottom, we have a checklist. And that checklist is the high-level bullet points of the playbook that was built out. And what I love about this process of having a context table at the top, having the camcorder method, having the course outline, and having a checklist is that it helps your team members regardless of which stage that they're at. If they're onboarding, they're probably going to be spending more time watching the videos. Once they're on their own and they get to actually complete the items in the playbook, they're going to use that course. And at the bottom with the checklist, it lets them know what the definition of done is. So those are the 5 productivity strategies. Number 1, we've got to implement the daily 5 non-negotiables. Number 2, do a time and energy audit and build your day-to-day calendar so that the highest leveraged activities that you're doing is when your energy is at its peak levels. Number 3, we got to make sure that we're doing the right work. And I gave you 4 tools to help you with that. Number 4, try to implement a 3 planning list to-do list where we have an open list where items can be moved to the closed list and then they're moved to your power list. And then number 5, we want to make sure that we are delegating with playbooks. Like we talked about earlier with the soccer goalies, we've got to learn how to stay in the center. We have to step back. We have to audit. We have to allocate our time to think and plan, and then we can take action. And through reflection, we can better understand our actions. Make sure that we are doing the work, but we want to make sure we're doing the work productively. My name's Cris Rodriguez. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you like and subscribe so you can get notified for our next upcoming video.